That's what I was. So, I'm Dr. Jade. We're talking about proven DPC employer growth strategies. This is a topic I'm excited to talk about. I'm going to share my journey through this aspect of our practice. And so first, like to scan the room, right? Know where we're at, tailor the talk to where we're at. So raise your hand if you have a corporate aspect of your practice already, you work with employer groups, you already are in the swing of it, you got this. Raise them high. We need to see it. Okay, look around, everybody else look around. Okay, those are people to chat with in breakouts as well, right? They're already doing it. Raise your hand if you have worked with a couple employers, you're starting to get your feet wet in it, got a few people signed up, considered, a business. Perfect. All right, sounds good. And raise your hand if you either are new to DPC, still exploring, or do not have a corporate branch of your practice, of your DPC. All right, great. Okay, so you have a nice mix, so I love that. All right, here's our QR code. It's also on our little packet. Put the questions that you have in there. We will have time for questions, and we'll answer those, okay? All questions are good questions. And this is for educational purposes, and I do not have anything to disclose. And our objectives are we're going to talk about how to grow your DPC through employer groups, and I'm going to share what that looked like for me. So a little bit about me. If you weren't at my social media talk yesterday, I'm going to take you through that. And again, this is going to feed right into what we're going to talk about. So I like to pay homage to baby Jade on the left. That's at 4 when I first started saying I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up, living my childhood dream. Bottom left, my last day of family medicine residency clinic, 8 months pregnant with our second baby. I had our first baby, Ava, intern year, 2019 during the pandemic. That was fun. And then last day of residency clinic, third year, it was almost time to have baby Aaliyah. Had her, and then we opened Inspire Primary Care 8 weeks later. At the top right, that's what we see mostly on social media now, which is more of our matured brand of Inspire Primary Care. And I always like to highlight my wonderful family on the bottom right. My handsome husband, Carlos, who is our COO of our practice, and our daughters, Ava and Aaliyah, who are now 7 and 4.5. And my baby reminded me that I did not say the half yesterday at my social media talk. All right. So let me take you on a little story before we go into this. I was sitting right in this room last year. DPC Summit was in New Orleans last year as well. And this is the room where I got to sit and listen to other doctors share their journey of growing their businesses through their DPCs through employer groups. And I was at a crossroads with my business last year. We had been open 3 years at the time. We were what I considered full for me to steward by myself. Transparently, I'm called to be in clinic max 2 days a week. That may be a shock to some. Our practice is Monday through Friday access, but I'm physically there twice a week. And I knew what my max was to steward that well. So I was at a crossroads. Do we stay here? And I'm a person of faith, so I said, Lord, do we stay here? And is this how I'm called to serve fully in DPC? Or am I called to grow? Am I called to hire? Are we called to go through employer groups? I was really at an exploration phase and wondering what's next. And after coming to DPC, sitting through this type of lecture, it was truly revealed to me that nope, the next step is for you to grow, and to grow through building a team, and to grow through serving employer groups. So then I had a lot of questions, okay? And these were some of the questions I had, like, okay, why, what, who, how, where, like, what do I do next, right? I left DPC Summit last year a little overwhelmed. And so I like to always start with why. Again, one of my favorite books is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And I wanted to know what was our why for employer groups. And that's the question I want to pause and have you all start with. Why do you want to have employer groups, or what we call corporate partners, in your DPC? And it cannot be, the correct answer is not to get bigger, to make more money. Like, obviously, we all want successful, profitable practices that serve well and help us to be financially stable. Like, that's an obvious thing. But why employer groups versus only having a retail side, right? Or adding other adjuncts, having an aesthetic side or a weight loss side. Like, there's so many ways to continue to evolve a practice. So why employer groups? So what's your why? So here was mine. This was our original why and my original vision to inspire primary care. My hometown is Las Vegas. It is known for many things, being wonderful for many things, and healthcare and education are not one of them, okay? So we have the worst healthcare in the country, just like we have some of the worst education in the country. And growing up, if I'm being transparent, I did not know what the specialty of primary care was until medical school because it was non-existent. If you were sick, you went to urgent care, you saw some random person, and if otherwise, once you were a woman of a certain age, teenage years, you just see your OB-GYN for everything. So when I found out about primary care, I was like, wait, where was that in my community? So that became, in medical school, what was revealed to be my mission. I went to medical school thinking I'm gonna be an OB-GYN because that's all I saw was my OB-GYN growing up. Instead, I realized, I'm meant to really fulfill the mission of providing quality primary care to my hometown and really reviving primary care, what it's supposed to be. Urgent cares are thriving in our community because it's truly non-existent, but we're on a mission to change that, right? And shout out to my other Vegas docs who are here who are also on a mission to change that. But this was my vision. My vision was my family. We had our 8-week-old, we had our 2-year-old, we had our stethoscope, our small office. We were like, okay, website's up, let's provide quality healthcare. And once I felt full, yes, my 2 days a week in office and my 5 days of coverage overall, once that felt full, all right, we're accomplishing the mission. All right, my baby's over here helping at a conference or at a community event, give water bottles and fill baggies to give out with grapes, and I have my cell phone and my laptop in the middle picture, and that's what I envisioned. And then the vision started to evolve, right? And so again, why employers? It was because as we really started to serve in our community, the top left, that says doing CrossFit with the doc, the bottom right, that says doing sweat with the doc with the local gym. And as we started connecting in the community, I asked people, hey, have you found quality healthcare? The answer, of course, was always no. And then I'm wondering, like, okay, what are some barriers holding you back from, of course, I didn't just say, well, girl, why haven't you gone to the website and signed up? But I'm like, what are some barriers holding you back of accessing the quality healthcare? We're here to help solve that problem. And one of the things that started to come up as we served more was, you know what, I get healthcare through my employer, and it would really be a stretch for me to invest some more for additional healthcare. I prefer to get my healthcare through my employer. Like, I want them to provide that. And that just became, that's still culturally what a lot of us expect. I work a job, they give me a benefit, right? And so this, again, as we started saying, what is our mission? To provide quality healthcare to the Las Vegas Valley and to serve busy professionals. Well, a part of that is going to be by accessing their employer and helping their employer to provide us as the healthcare benefit for their employees. So it all started to make sense. So again, I'm just driving home the point. What is your why? Serving who we were called to serve was our why. So that led me to what? So I was like, okay, I know why, but what do I do? Like, what do I do to get this thing started? So when I go on our DPC Docs groups, I'll hear a lot of people, again, we see the end result to a lot of people's journeys, right? We'll see people post like, I just signed up a 100 people group, and people are gonna DM and comment, how did you do it, right? But what I learned, and I'm gonna share my journey, doesn't mean everything I did on my journey is gonna be yours, but start to absorb what's meant for you and what's, not meant for you. I realized there was a lot of internal preparation that my clinic needed to do to be ready to steward corporate groups, okay? So, anybody read this book on the left called What the Heck is EOS? Raise your hand if you've read it. I know my husband's read it. Anybody else? Okay. I was like, you better have read it. Okay, yes, all right, and Brad in the back has also read it. Okay, so this is a book I highly recommend. It's about having an operating system for your DPC. And this is about us really switching from our doctor brain to our CEO brain. And a lot of this is going to be our CEO brain and really building the reps of our business brain, okay? A new skill set, and we are great at learning and acquiring new skill sets, right? And so this is really about an operating system. Think about, Walmart or McDonald's or any of these things where they can plug and play any person. I know we think we're really special and nobody can do it like us and nobody wants anybody but us, but it really is about having your business become a system that can operate and be replicated and where you can bring others in, and they can also have it operate smoothly. So first, our practice implemented EOS. That's going to do things like L10s and rocks and things like that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, throw what the heck is EOS in your ChatGPT. It'll summarize it for you now. Okay? All right. And so a part of that, next step, we got our operating system. Then it was like, yeah, I, again, am still called to be in office 2 days a week because I have other giftings and things that I'm called to do. And so we need to grow, to be able to have the capacity to grow and to serve well, we need to add on team members, right? Clinicians. First, we started with the hunt for a physician because in my mind, I need to find somebody who has the same degree as me, probably somebody who looks like me, because my patients are going to want to see anybody but Dr. Jade, and if I just hire somebody that's too different or their degree is different, then they're still going to say, I only want to see Dr. Jade. That was the assumption I had. So I went on the journey for 4 months. First, only looking for women physicians. I'm going to be honest, okay? I started looking for women physicians because I'm like, I have a lot of women, we do a lot of pap smears, they're probably only going to want to see a woman. Okay. Went on that journey, had lots of great conversations with physicians. It wasn't the right fit. Like, this is the thing to understand with DPC, is that it takes the right fit person in a specific season of their life. They have to be willing to grow with their revenue as the practice grows. If you don't have private equity or a huge amount of money sitting there ready to give them $250K day one, they may have to not be in the mindset of downgrading their lifestyle, all kinds of things. Maybe they're not ready to work part-time first. So we weren't able to find the position that was in the right season of life. So then I started to ask my patients, because at that point, I was drowning in work while also trying to grow the practice, and I couldn't really grow the practice and be in the practice, right? And so I said to my patients that have been with me the longest, I asked them, hey, would you be open to someone who's not a woman? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, hey, would you be open to a nurse practitioner or a PA? Like, would that make you feel like that's not the DPC way? And they're like, if you're training them and they care for me like you care for me, and the culture is the same, and they have the knowledge, and they make me feel comfortable, and they respond, if they're under your leadership, I trust it. And I said, okay. So we opened the position up to NPs and PAs as well, and after 6 months of countless rounds of interviews, okay, we were blessed with Noelle to join our team, who's a nurse practitioner that has joined our practice. And so we trained her, and then we added another MA, so we have 2 MAs. Our scaling is, when we're ready for our next scaling and expansion, we add a clinician, and we add an MA along with that. So we added a clinician, added her, and our MA. And so that part was there. Okay, we have the manpower to handle more. And then we had to create SOPs, very important, like the standard operating procedures. I had to get everything that was in my brain, which a lot of what I did when we first opened, it was just Dr. Jade's way, Dr. Jade's go-to meds, Dr. Jade's way of thinking about it, but it had to get into standardized operating procedures, right? So that everyone in Inspire Primary Care understands what is our go-to for UTI, what is our go-to for blood pressure, how do we scale through things, how do we do things cohesively as a practice, and of course, we're still all clinicians, so we still have, ways to discuss as a team, but we wanted SOPs. And then, this is another thing I see a lot with clinicians and physicians in the DPC groups that talk about growing through employer groups, is I go to their websites and there's nothing there about how they serve employer groups. So we revamped our website. I went out with a physician, a non-physician friend who's a very successful businesswoman, has a huge business in my city, and I went out with her and I was talking about her, and I'm like, girl, you have over 200 employees. I would love to have a business like you be, offer us as a corporate partner and to your employees. And then she was like, and she was like, well, have you considered getting a corporate logo? And I was like, you don't think my logo? No, this wasn't my logo. I said, you don't think my logo's a corporate logo? What is that? And she's like, yeah, it doesn't speak to corporate. And so I asked ChatGPT, what's a corporate logo? Then I'm going down the street and I'm seeing the Target, I'm seeing the Starbucks, I'm seeing the McDonald's, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then we start to develop a corporate logo. Then we revamped our full website to have an employer section, show how we serve employers, because we're in a stalking generation. People want to go on, they want to look at you and see what you've done, and then they'll make a decision to reach out for a call. And so if there's nothing that says, I see employers, I serve employers, I understand the psychology of decision makers, then getting those phone calls and starting the conversation, it can just be more challenging. So that's some of the internal preparation we went through first. right? And off to the right, that's kind of a snippet of, the smarter healthcare solution for Las Vegas employers and ways that we started providing content and videos as well. And also changing the messaging, evolving the messaging instead of your doctor at your fingertips, because that means Dr. Jade is at your fingertips, to your healthcare team is at your fingertips. So it's either going to be anyone from my team that is trained for what you are reaching out about. So it was the evolution internally. So then there's external preparation I had to do. Again, you're not just going, I know you guys are here to be like, how do I just get an employer group? But this is something that is important. There is preparation that needs to happen. So the external preparation was, I know we don't really like to think of ourselves about sales and marketing. We talked about marketing yesterday. But guess what? Now this is a different beast, okay? That, yesterday, we were talking about what we call D2C, direct to consumer, now retail side of DPC, but now this is B2B, business to business. And there are differences in sales, marketing, how you present, what attracts, and so I had to then become a master, or at least start the journey of trying to become a master of what the B2B space looks like. And this is something that's not really talked about, right? Because some people just open an employer group, send you an email, and that's great if that happens. But for many of us, there's some preparation that needs to occur. So we have to learn the B2B space. Again, I have lots of, I am always on a mission to put myself in rooms and to make friends with people who are far more successful than me. If I'm in a room in Vegas, I'm probably the smallest business in the room. So I'm asking my friends with successful businesses of all different industries, tell me about B2B. Their industries only do B2B. That's all they've done. So I'm like, okay, tell me how B2B works, because I've only done B2C. So that's the journey I was on, right? If physicians are one thing, we are learners, right? And so I put my nerd hat on for the last year, and I was like, I can learn this. I may not know it. I wasn't taught it in med school, but I can learn it. And then I had to learn at the bottom left, what does the marketing look like for the B2B side? How is it different? How is it the same? Where are decision makers binging content? Everyone kept telling me, Jade, you've got to get on LinkedIn. And I was like, I don't want to get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is boring. There's no pictures. It's not visual. I'm a girl who wants to scroll and be like, oh, that's cute. But LinkedIn was like boring for me. I was like, I don't want to learn it. But guess what? That's where decision makers are. That's where C-suite is. So if you're looking for employers and you're trying to do it on Instagram and TikTok, you may not be catching the traction that you're looking for, because they may not be in that mindset when they're on that platform versus when they're in this platform. So again, I had to really learn that. And now the top, brokers. Right? Now, we're not just going to a family or an individual and saying, hey, pick me in my practice. We're really great. We can treat you really well. Now, we're working with businesses that may already have agreements with brokers. They may or may not already be offering healthcare benefits. We need to understand why or why not. And I needed to understand the role of brokers. I had to go way more in detail of understanding how insurance works. Not just, hey, do you have a PPO or an HMO? No, I had to understand co-insurance. I had to understand truly understand the definitions of premiums and, how this looks for a C-suite CFO versus how it looks from the employee utilizing the benefit. So there was so much I had to learn. And so what my husband and I did, again, this may not be what you all need to do, but for me to really understand it, we took the course that brokers take. And so we found out what course do brokers take when they're studying for their broker exam. We took that, and we had no idea. We were like, okay, are we taking this because we're trying to be brokers? And we're like, we don't really know. Let's just learn, okay? And we did, and we weren't called to become brokers. We were just called to understand, to be able to sit at a meeting with the C-suite team and be able to clearly talk with whether the broker's there or not, and understand the ins and outs, understand how everyone is compensated, so we can get to the goal that we're all trying to reach. So that was something we had to understand. At the bottom, we had to really understand insurance, how it affects not only the company, but how it affects the employees. And at the top right, we really had to understand the dynamics of teams. And again, we had to understand the layers of teams. We had to understand not just the C-suite and how they wanted to access healthcare within the company, but how the upper management, the directors and the managers of the company versus the lower, more entry-level employees. Like, all of that was so important to understand. So that was some of our external preparation. And then we had to understand the pain points of each side, meaning the C-suite team or the decision makers. versus the employees. The pain points and how Inspire Primary Care's corporate offering would solve those problems. So as we started talking to lots of employees throughout the city, I put what our top 3 in order was or is. And yours may be different based on what employers and employees you're talking to in your area and what pain points they may have. But for us, when I was talking to teams, the number one thing they cared about was access. That was their pain point. In Vegas, it's a 3 to 6 month wait to see an insurance-based doctor with their insurance card, which is why our urgent cares are thriving, right? And so they cared about access. When I'm sick, can I see somebody? All right, can I see somebody without taking off a full day, losing money, risk losing my job, or just avoiding healthcare altogether because I've got to work. I need to get a check. So access, cost was the other thing that employees cared about. When they use their card, are they still going to get a bill 3 months later? All right, what is the copay? How much is the MRI going to cost? The things we think about more on the retail side when we're doing DPC. And then the last thing was trust, right? Again, employees want somebody that they know, like, trust, just like on the retail side. Now, on the other side, the decision makers, their top 3, again, was cost, but their cost was different than the employees. Employees were thinking about labs, meds, imaging, the out-of-pocket cost when they use their insurance card. The decision maker is thinking about the premium that the company is paying every month, how much it's going to go up every month. Most of the employer groups I talked to this year, theirs went up a minimum of 30%. Of course, we've seen much higher percentages on TikTok and things like that, but I looked at their actual renewals, and most of them were between 30 and 45% increases from the previous year. So those are the things that employers were more concerned about. The productivity, is this going to keep my people working? Like, if I offer this benefit instead of this benefit, are they going to call off less? Are they going to stay in the office when they're sick? How does it all work? Because I need my people working, okay? And then retention. Are they going to want to stay with this benefit? Like, is this benefit going to help keep them in our company? Is it going to help recruit good talent and keep good talent? So again, understanding what people care about and what they value and how your practice actually provides a solution is important. So we want to solve their problems. So I'm going to be, when I'm talking to teams, I'm going to be talking about the access of Inspire Primary Care, how you can text us, you're going to hear back from your same team every time within an hour, but within minutes typically. But I like to under-promise and over-deliver, right? So you're going to hear from us fast. We're going to make it flexible. It can be text, email, phone, video. What do you like to do, right? That's how I'm going to talk to an employee. I'm going to talk about cost. Oh, you don't like to get a surprise bill? Well, our full lab panel is only $50. Our x-rays they used to be $25, but now they're $50 cash. Our MRIs are $300. And if you want to use your insurance card, you can. And if it comes back higher than the prices I told you, next time we can order it cash. So I'm talking about those aspects with employees. I'm talking about the trust. The people that you see on TikTok dancing around, that's the same people that's texting you back, okay? So they know it's us, Team Inspire, at their fingertips. If I'm talking to the decision maker and the C-suite team, I'm talking about the cost, right? The cost of the plan, how we compare to the premiums they're paying, how the actual access of primary care works, how we actually, if they are also offering like a high deductible health plan in addition to us, how we're helping to protect the plan because we're keeping them from going to the urgent care and the emergency room as often. We're making it transparent, right? So we talk about cost from that perspective. We talk about productivity, how we're helping to decrease absenteeism. How? We're like, oh, if your employee is sick, they can just text us. They don't have to leave. They can see us on their lunch break via video, which one of our private school that we serve, their teachers love to use their lunch break for video calls, which has been huge in them calling out and then having to shuffle kids during flu season. So we're speaking to those points. And retention. People want to know, are they going to want to stay with us? And so I'm going to give them the example of the local bar that we serve. They have food, they have chefs, we care for their chefs through our corporate partnership. And one of the chefs told me, yeah, there was another restaurant that wanted to hire me and pay me more, but I'm actually staying here because I want to keep they call it concierge no matter how much I tell the DPC, but I want to keep Yeah, I want to keep the concierge benefit. Like nobody else is going to give me the concierge benefit. So I actually took the lower pay here. The culture is better here, and the benefit is better here. So it was nice to actually hear a true story of retention and be able to share that story as an example to other employers. So you got to speak to what they care about. If you go in talking about DPC is great, we don't take insurance, it's a membership. They don't care. They don't care. All right, so now we know what. And then I was like, okay, so who do I get? Who do I get in here? How does that work? So here was my who. So we talk a lot about the retail avatar, and I told you guys yesterday about Shawnee, my 30s to 50s busy professional woman. She's the key person that tells her husband we're going to Inspire Primary Care. She brings the kids in. She's a boss, so she says this is my team, and we're all going to go to Inspire Primary Care. She's the key, and her parents are aging, so she brings them into Inspire Primary Care. So Shawnee, I know how to talk to her. I know where to find her. I know where she scrolls. We talked about that yesterday. But we don't talk a lot about the employer avatar, and that's something that was matured for our practice over the last year. So, just like we don't go out in marketing and say, I treat everybody. If you treat everybody, you treat nobody. If you market to everybody, you market to nobody. So, same thing for employers. It's like if we go out and we're like, I'll take any employer, all businesses welcome. Now, you can internally be like, any business that reaches out, I'm going to explore the opportunity and try to close the business. That's fine. But we still need to be focused in who our employer avatar is, who we're looking for, what kind of employees we'd like to care for, that we feel we have the skill set to care for well, how big of a company we feel we can actually steward well without it breaking our system. All right? This is important to understand. So we have to do that internal exploration. Okay, we've got a physician, we've got a nurse practitioner, we've got a clinical team of 4, we've got an operations team and a marketing team, but in clinic we have a team of 4. So okay, who can we steward well? If a company called tomorrow, and if they said we have 300 people tomorrow, I'm gonna say, all right girls, let's put it together, we're gonna figure this out. But am I gonna be intentionally recruiting them day one? No, I had to pick what was our ideal avatar. So our ideal avatar was a company of 5 to 50 employees. We consider a corporate partner for our practice if it is 5 employees or more on one corporate ACH or credit card, essentially. That is our definition of a corporate partner. One card, lots of employees, okay? And so we were intentionally looking at 5 to 50, all right? Happy to take more, happy to take 1 or 2 or 3, happy to take more. But this is what we were marketing to and looking for companies with that, right? And I really, again, we love taking care of busy professionals because we know that the way we serve is very tech-heavy, text-heavy, and so we know we serve them well. So we had in mind lawyer offices, not just lawyers, but lawyer offices, right? Their whole teams, schools, nurses, pilots, so we started thinking of what industries really fit well within who we're called to serve. So we were looking for 5 to 50 busy professional groups. We didn't specify what type of group, like only schools or only lawyers, but I will share with you on the later slides all of the industries that we serve, okay? But we had a specific narrowed idea of who we're looking for. So what is your employer avatar? So we had our who in mind, and then next was like, okay, so where do I find them? Where? And that's where we went next. So where we started was in our warm market. We started where it was warm. So at the time, I was the only physician in the office. At that time, I knew every single person in my practice. I knew them all really well. I knew which ones were business owners. So I naturally started with reaching out to the business owners in our practice. We started at the top left with members. And I reached out to them and said, hey, we care for employers. We have an employer offering now. We're looking for corporate partners. If your team is looking for, if you're looking to explore ways that we can serve your team, let me know if you want to chat. Just kind of leave it open like that. And some of them did want to learn more, and some of them wanted to go to the website and learn more. Send me the website. People are busy, right? So having those things, hey, do you have a handout? Do you have a PDF? A lot of people want to just look into it before they block time on their calendar, right? Like, time is precious. So that was one aspect. We looked at our members and we did, start taking care of some of their teams. Then at the bottom left, I'm a person who loves to serve more and try to give more than just go around trying to take take. So as I started opening my mind and being curious as I was going places that I naturally go in my day-to-day life. So for example, at the time, my daughter was in daycare. I'm looking around, kids are sick, the teacher is sick. And so I asked the owner of the daycare, like, hey, what do you offer them? Like, what do you do when they're sick? And she's like, oh, I've been looking for a solution. So-and-so called out last week. We had to combine all the kids into this other girl's class because she had to go to urgent care. What do you have going on? And so then we talked, and then the daycare became one of our corporate partners. Then I'm at my daughter's private school. We get an email, tuition's going up. I'm like, why is tuition going up? The quality of I'm not getting anything extra at private school, so why is it going up? Oh, because, we have more teachers and the benefits are going up. Well, I might be able to help with that. Let's chat about the benefit part, because I would like my tuition for private schools to not go up. So maybe I can solve. So I try to just solve problems that make it a win-win for everybody, not just a win for me. I was invited by somebody to a local paint and sip, paint event. And the place was beautiful. They had and so I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, they have 10 people working here. I wonder if they provide any healthcare benefits because it would really kind of break the business if they called off. And so I asked the owner, oh, I love your business. And he's like, oh yeah, we have 3 of these around town. Oh, you do? Wow, how many employees is that total? Yeah, we've got about 45 part-timers. Really? Do you offer any healthcare benefits at all to your part-timers? No, I would like to, but it's too expensive. So we're just chatting it up. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, my husband and I, we have a private practice, and we just host a lunch and learn for business owners in, Las Vegas Leaders Lunch and Learn. I'd love for you to come sometime and we share there, how we solve that problem for businesses really affordably. Next lunch and learn, he was there, right? And so this is just ways to not go in and hand a card and be like, oh, I'm with Inspire Primary Care, pick me. Nobody wants that. Ew. People are like, no. Okay? Think about how it feels when those reps come in and interrupt our day and our flow. Nobody wants that. So next we went to our newsletter, right? We have a pretty robust newsletter, thousands of people throughout the city who we serve and try to provide value to in our newsletter. And we let them know in the newsletter, we serve businesses. We have corporate partners. If you're a small business, small to medium business, we connect us with, really, I try to tell people, not necessarily you are a small business owner, so you connect with me. I try to do a more who do you know? So I'll be like, hey, if you know a business owner, connect us with them. And if they're reading it and they're the business owner, they will reach out, okay? So psychology, nobody wants to be pressured, they want to make the decision, right? And then at the bottom right, referrals, right? I talk about it everywhere I go and so I started changing my verbiage on social media that we not only serve individuals, but we serve individuals, families, and teams. So I started changing my 30-second elevator pitch, if you will, but people will always hear me mention and teams because they're going to hear that and they're like, oh, the teams part. The other day I had a new corporate partner join, and one of the office manager, she was like, I was following you, and I thought you mentioned something about teams. So I let my boss know that, hey, I think, and it's just those little nuggets that people will hear if you just say it over and over in a way that's not pushy, okay? So that's where we started. And that gained us some traction. And then, of course, as the traction slowed down, from that initial warm market, we tried some other things. Where we went next, I will always be transparent with what worked really well, and I will be transparent with where we crashed and burned so that you don't make the same expensive mistakes. All right, we've all got our journeys. So next, of course, as you learn, you do something new, marketers are going to come at you. I've got a solution. I can blow your practice up with employees, right? And so we had a marketing group come to us. Now, when we first opened our practice, we had tried a marketing group, but for the retail side, which did not have any ROI. But for this, now AI is in the picture. So they're like, oh no, it's nothing like what you tried before. This is an AI, we can scrape the internet and we can get 5,000 email addresses from all the small and medium businesses throughout the valley. And oh God, if I can save you the thousands of dollars, that did not work well for us at all. Zero ROI. We're strategic. We had a certain amount of funding that we said, okay, we'll give this 90 days. We'll have this amount of money. Growing is risk. There's some risk to take. So we'll give this 90 days. If there's zero ROI, we cut it at day 90, and that's what we did. Okay? So we tried that. If you're out there and you've tried these type of marketers and it has worked well, great. My whole goal is for us to be able to really generate sharing the different stories amongst ourselves in this breakout so the whole movement grows with us serving corporate partners and employer groups. All right, and so then at the bottom left, we started putting it on our forms. I'm all about things that are simple and free, okay? So we started putting it on our forms for new patients. So every new patient, we just changed our new member form where there was a section that's pretty obvious that says, are you a business owner with a team? Yes or no? And then if they said yes, it would say, would you like more information about how our corporate partnership works? Yes or no? My team that looks over that tags me right away if people say yes to those questions. So that became a nice, smooth way for us to start the conversation. Again, we started getting a lot of business owners that wanted to have lots of like one-on-one coffees, have one-on-one conversations, do one-on-one Zoom calls, and I started telling my husband, like, whew, it's becoming a little overwhelming, like my calendar, like I am still seeing patients, and how do we serve well? And so we were then called. It made sense for us to move towards hosting our own lunch and learn in the community. Now, am I telling you everybody in here needs to have a lunch and learn if you want to work with corporate partners? No. But explore where you're being called to. So many people wanted to chat about it, where I was like, okay, every other month, let's host a lunch and learn. We pay for the lunch, invite business owners, decision makers, entrepreneurs, specifically at a time where only they would be there, 9 a.m. on a Friday. And whoever comes, and then we're collecting their emails when they sign up. We can keep the conversation going. And that works really nice for us. Now, people will ask me, does that mean that you had a room full of 30 decision makers and you left with 5 new employer groups? No, I think we have to really readjust our expectation. It planted seeds. We planted seeds, educated, connected, provided food for 30 decision makers, and when it's their season, they will decide that we're the right fit. They will explore to talk about, to have a strategy session. They will refer a business friend who is ready and does have the budget, okay? Or they would have gotten free lunch, and that's okay too, all right? But it is planting the seeds. And then we also had something called a champion strategy. A champion strategy, when I first started, I thought that I always had to talk to the decision maker to get the employer group, but that wasn't the case. Usually, it's someone in the organization that the employer cares about their opinion. So for example, 2 champions that, and again, this is us talking and teaching on social media and getting the word out there that we serve employer groups. And then one example was a company and the office manager, she's not an office manager, but she's like the director of her division within the company. She told the employer, I want us to offer that. And then they were like, what is that? And she's like, I don't know, but I like it. I've been following her for a long time. Can I do the email and set up a Zoom call for you? And she was like, okay. And so I'm on the Zoom call, and that's how we got on the call, right? And then I had another one who was the business development for the company, and the employer, the CEO, was complaining that their healthcare benefit was going up 35%. And she was like, oh, I follow Dr. Jade. You know Dr. Jade, right? No, I don't know Dr. Jade. You don't know Dr. Jade? Okay, let me set up the email. And then the next week, we had a strategy session. So that's a really cool way, is not only thinking about, I have to pound down the CEOs or the decision makers, but who are the people in the company that they don't want to lose. Like, they want that person to be happy because they're a key person that makes their company run smoothly. All right, I'm a speaker for Men in the Peach over on the right. I speak within my community, not just like how much can you pay me to speak. Everything has a purpose and a strategy, right? And so I speak at women's conferences, I speak at health and wellness conferences when I'm asked, when it's within my skill set and in my area of expertise, right? In my zones of genius, I'm there to provide value. And a lot of times, those conferences will have vendors. Those vendors typically have teams. So for example, at that specific women's conference that I did in the spring, State Farm happened to be one of the, there's lots of State Farm affiliates, but one of the State Farm affiliates was a sponsor for the event. And later they said, hey, I want to learn more about your corporate offering. I heard you mention that you also serve teams, and I have a team of 8. Can we chat? Yeah, let's go out to coffee. And so we did. So these are ways to, again, plant seeds, not to say, how much do you pay me to speak? Because this is, you just really have to be strategic about it on what ways may it benefit both parties in different ways. And then at the bottom right, I put the broker there because, again, I had to learn more about brokers. But I started having coffee with different brokers. Shout out to any brokers in the room. I am always open to strategic partnerships and collaborations. I have to be transparent that I haven't yet developed a broker relationship that has great reciprocity, meaning I have met brokers that are like, yes, if you connect with a corporate partner, bring them my way. I can get them the high deductible plan. I can do this, I can do that. But I have not had that happen and flow my way where they're like, oh, I have a group in mind and hey, Jade, let's meet. And so we can structure a group for Inspire Primary Care. So I am always on the hunt for a relationship with a broker that has reciprocity, but I've been yet to find that, but I'm still open to it, okay? So that's our journey with brokers so far. And then at the top right, I shared yesterday with you all that I love pickleball, and again, we started off just by sharing. My husband and I, we would go play pickleball, we would share that on our social media. When I would go into the community, women would be wanting to ask me more about pickleball than they wanted to ask me about health and wellness, and they'd be like, where did you play? How did you start playing? And all these questions, and then it just made me realize, okay, we're called to launch our own pickleball group. Instead of me joining a BNI type of group and like being in the same room and doing this other type of referral structure, let me do something that I love, the community's interested in. It's the ideal person we're called to serve, which is, it's called the Lady Leaders Pickleball Meetup. So it's only lady leaders. It's Tuesdays at 9 a.m. when only someone who structures their own schedule is going to be able to come and do that. And we usually have 30 plus women at each of our meetups that are all decision makers. And again, I'm not pressuring them like, who here has a team? And who here has a team that needs healthcare? No, I'm letting them know, thank you all for coming. The courts are sponsored by Inspire Primary Care. If you know anybody in the community looking for quality healthcare, we'd love to care for them. Let us know about our practice. And we also serve teams. If you or anyone you know has a team, let us know if you'd like to connect. Boom, that's it. Seed has been planted. And that has also led to traction. Hope you guys are getting some ideas, all right? So then it was the how. Now we've done the where do we find them. So how do I serve them? Like, how do I actually get to the point where I'm charging their business card and I'm serving them well? What's the how? So here's how it's going. I told you all that I was sitting in these seats 1 year ago in this room, realizing that we were called to go down the corporate partner road, and we now have 13 corporate partners. They are small to medium-sized businesses between 5 and 30 employees. Many of them have larger teams. Some of them will have the employee opt into us as the benefit versus another benefit. So the largest that we serve in one company is 5 to 30 at this time, and they now are 1/3 of our practice, our corporate partners. Thank you. It's been a journey, but it's starting to get off the ground, and I think that's just what I needed to look back at to be like, okay, it can be done. You can start from knowing nothing and being so confused to like making some traction, right? One step in front of the other. So, how it's going, this is another question I had, and that I see a lot in our DPC Docs groups, is like, well, what industries? Is there certain industries that are more DPC friendly, right? So I wanted to share with you literally the 13 industries that are our corporate partners. So we serve a local restaurant, we serve an HVAC and air conditioning company, we serve a law office and their team, we serve a local furniture store that has multiple furniture stores in our valley, we serve like a fancy boutique on the Strip, they offer it for their team. We care for a tax and finance company. I told you my daughter's old daycare, we care for them. She's not in daycare anymore, but we still care for their team. We care for a private school. It's not the private school that my daughter goes to, unfortunately, and tuition did go up. But we serve another private school. And then we serve so it's a very large company that does all the trade shows. Vegas is like the biggest trade show capital in the world or whatever. But we serve their executive leadership team. We haven't quite figured out the numbers to serve their whole company, which has over 100 employees. We're still working on it, and it's a not yet situation. But we do serve their executive leadership team. We serve a candle making company. So it's one of those places where you go, it's like a candle making class. Again, I was just invited to go to the class, and then I'm chatting it up with the business owner. This is beautiful, and I'm being authentic. I'm like, this is beautiful. I love what you've created. Your team is doing a great job. What kind of benefits do you offer them with healthcare? okay? So, I mean, it just happened to lead there, right? But I'm curious, and then at the bottom we have two, we have, at the time of making the slide, we have one therapy company, but August 1st, we have another therapy company. It's a friend of the other therapy company that said, hey, you started serving my friend's therapy company. I've got a therapy company too, and so they start next month. And then we serve a local bar. I told you about the chef that wanted to stay, and then we have a realtor company, like a realtor investment company, their team. We serve them as well. So those are the specific industries at this time that we serve. This is something that stressed me out last year, okay? The how is the discovery call. Like, if an employer or decision maker, a CEO, whatever, if they want to actually learn more, like, how do I do the discovery call, right? Like, I'm not a salesperson by trade. And what I learned was, after doing lots of these over the last year, doing many of them terribly early on, now I've learned that you are not a salesperson. At first I went into these calls thinking, okay, I'm going to tell you about DPC, right? That doesn't go great. But I switched my mindset from a salesperson to a strategist. So that's why we call them strategy sessions. And again, I'm there to hear what their pain points are and see how we may be able to solve their pain points. So I come in as a strategist. First thing I'm doing is listening, and it's quite literally, what's so funny about this is, it's so much of how we practice medicine. Like, we don't go into a patient's room and just say, you've got this, I'm giving you this, We don't do that. We go in and we listen. We may ask one open-ended question. They may spill their whole life story, but we're extracting what's actually pertinent. We're creating a customized differential. We're creating a customized health plan strategy. We're not saying everybody has hypertension, everybody gets hydrochloric thiazide. No, we're listening and extracting and developing. So I'm doing the same thing on these strategy calls. I'm listening, what are their pain points, where's their company. I'm creating a differential on what things Inspire Primary Care does to solve it, and then I customize the solution. So once the employer, the main thing for those is making sure the decision maker is on the call. Typically not going to be the HR person. They can be on the call, but they shouldn't be the only person on the call. But that needs to be the healthcare decision maker for the company on that call, or it's a waste of your time. All right, and so now, let's say the CEO is like, I'm in. That sounds good, okay? That's not where it is, typically, all right? It could, but in my experience so far, they want the teams opt-in. They want the employees to also want the benefit. One, because they don't want to waste their money on a benefit no one wants. They also don't want the employees to revolt and be like, you stripped our PPO for something I don't know about, and I'm going to this other company. Like, they want the team to also want it, typically. So something that we do once the CEO is on board is we say, we'd love to host a breakfast and benefits session for your team. I bring breakfast, the team asks questions, I share how we serve employees. Again, I know the pain points for the employees, so I'm framing it based on what they're interested in, and I open it up for Q&A, answer their questions, and then they opt in. Well, some companies will say this is what we're offering. Every company is different. Some companies say this is what we're offering. Some companies say we're going to offer this alongside another option and you can opt in. But whatever the case, I get to find out how many of them are going to be on the corporate group for our practice after that, and what the start date is. So the last part of the how, the onboarding and the retention. If I could say nothing else about this aspect, just remember the word, make it simple. Make it easy. If you make this part complicated, it can just make all your hard work go to waste, okay? So your employer agreement needs to be simple. I used to have an employer agreement that was maybe 4 or 5 pages. Now it's a page and a half. It's simple, okay? All the fine details are on the website of how our practice works, blah, blah, blah. We have a separate agreement for the employees once they become a part of our practice, but what does the employer need to know? Make that part simple, okay? And then I've also learned that I'll send they've agreed, their team is in, I'll send the email, and I don't get the signed agreement back, and I was like, what is wrong? What is happening here, right? Everyone's busy, so now I know to fill out every aspect of the employer agreement. All they have to do is look it over, agree that it's accurate, put their signature and their card number. That's it, and send it back to me. I will come to your location, and we can do it in person so that we can get this moving, because I understand we're all very busy, and if I see an email that's complex, okay, I have to do that later. Right? And so make that really simple. And then for the employee onboarding process, make that simple. So for example, if we learned the one word enrollment is our way that we do it now, which has been really beautiful. So for example, if we're enrolling Nike, all the employees of Nike that are enrolling into Inspire Primary Care's corporate plan with them, they just have to text us the word Nike. That's it. We already have a list of the names and their numbers from the employer, and they will usually have like the executive assistant just send me the names of the employees that are going to join under their corporate partnership. And then when they text the word Nike, I see it, I see that, yep, Jane is a part of Nike, we'll cross her off. Okay, now we're going to onboard her just like all the other employees, or just like all the other people on the retail side. Okay, so we make it simple. Text us the word of your company, we know what to do from there. Okay? And then from there, it's about the 5-star service delivery, you guys. Because the word spreads around the office. For day one, maybe it's a company of 50 and only 10 of those employees opted in after the breakfast and benefits. But then people want to know, hey, how's it been? Oh, you're texting the doctor? Did the doctor really text you back? And then the next month I get an email, hey, 3 more employees want to be added to the plan. Okay, so just because you don't get all 50 day one doesn't mean all 50 won't become you're a part of the corporate plan over time. Good word spreads, bad word spreads. So that's again why it's important to be looking for groups that you can steward well. And then the other thing is that word is going to get back to the employer. They're going to see how you're saving money, saving time, how their employees are happy, the word around the office. So then when their friends are complaining about, because, you know, typically decision makers hang out with other decision makers on the golf course or on the pickleball court, right? And so when they hear their friends talking about, man, our healthcare went up, or my employees calling off, my team this, my team that, oh, well, things are pretty good over here for us because we tried this thing, Inspire Primary Care. Well, what's that? I'll give you her email, right? And so that word spreads, but that can go either way. So you gotta deliver the 5-star service. I always want to give a gift, okay? So highly recommend scanning this QR code. This is our strategy session success, our discovery call framework. Again, my pain point was once the decision maker is interested in the call, what do I do on that call that helps this to go smoothly and lead to them becoming an employer, a corporate partner? And so I have shared what that framework looks like for us and for me when I'm on those calls. That has went well. And hopefully that will save you all some time. All right, and so we're just getting started. You know, here's Team Inspire on the left, and on the right are some of the logos that we are thankful to serve at this time. And we're excited to continue growing through both employees and employers on the retail side and on the corporate side. We have enjoyed serving corporate groups, not because they're just lower utilizers, which they are, but also because it has opened up us serving people that usually wouldn't have been able to afford out of their paycheck, like on top of their paycheck, or they would have thought it was too expensive even if it wasn't, right? And so it really has diversified the population of our practice, which has been really nice for us to experience. And so if I can leave you with anything, it would just be to embrace the journey. I see a lot of us like comparing a lot, like, well, what's your price? What's your panel size? How many employer groups do you have? But there's a reason that horses wear blinders, which I have been educated that they're actually called blinkers, because it's easy to get distracted or discouraged, right? And so yes, use what we have done as inspiration, but also be on your mission. Who are you called to serve? Plant the seeds, build the trust, and grow the mission. I'm going to come back to the questions. Thank you guys. This is my information. If you want to stay connected, if we don't get to any of your questions, I'll be up front. I'm happy to answer more questions. And in the breakout sessions, happy to answer your questions. I'll get to the ones we can get to now. Let's see if they're going to load. I think that should be where the questions are, but can I take a live question? Do you have it's on your tablet? Okay. Yeah, they're not loading up here. Again, if we don't get to them, I'm happy to answer your questions. All right, so how do employer contracts clash with, I think that was supposed to be Shawnee, okay, yeah, with my ideal patient? Concern for potential patients that are not a good fit. That's a good question. So the question there is basically, if I'm getting Shawnee, I know that I either like Shawnee and we hit it off and we can serve well, but if it's a whole company, I'm not selecting Shawnee, right? I've just gone on the journey and saw what happened, and so far it's been pretty good. Like, I just have to keep exploring that as I go, but what I do is I let everybody know that this is a practice where we treat each other well, where there's mutual respect, where there are boundaries, where you have access to your team Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and this is how we serve outside of those hours. And if that works for them, they opt in. If that doesn't work for them, opt out. If we need to reevaluate if you're a good fit, we'll do that. So I'm not bound to keep anyone, okay? Nor are they bound to stay with me. So that's the beauty of DPC. So I haven't found it to be an issue because we're very clear on our boundaries for our practice. What broker course did you take? I knew this question would come up. I told you this was going to, I can't remember. I couldn't find it in my email, but I will find it. I don't know. We'll
find it out.
We'll find it. I knew that was going to come up. But what we did was we asked AI what are the top broker courses. We looked at the prices and we picked the one that was the least expensive because we weren't really trying to become brokers. So you can always go into AI and just ask, like, what are the courses that brokers take? What are the most reputable, most popular ones? And then look at the websites. There was maybe 3 or 4 that everyone kept saying they used, and we picked the one that was least expensive. Is that time? Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. I hope that provided value. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Web CE. Web CE.
Web CE. Oh, I'm still on. It's called Web CE. Web CE. My husband found it in his emails. That's the name of the course.